Today, I want to talk to you about one of the most important ingredients for success in anything that you do. I want to talk to you about the importance of passion. Have you discovered your passion, the thing that you are passionate about? Well, if you haven't, tune in because we're going to talk about this. Let's get started.
That me though. That me though. I ain't got no problem with what you do. I'ma do me though. Yeah. I like chains on top of my chains for real, but that's me though.
All right, again, welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in to today's live sessions with me, Timothy Fleming Jr. Again, we have a hot topic for today. We're going to talk about passion, how to discover it, why you need to discover it, why it's so important. And I want to just share again from my own personal experience how I discovered my passion and how I was able to take my passion and flip it and turn it into something that generated revenue in my own life. So let's go ahead and really kind of take a look at this topic and dive in and try to cover as much as we can on today in this awesome topic on passion. Notice I said discovering your passion, not discovering your purpose. And the reason why I emphasize passion as being so important is because your passion will lead you to your purpose. When you discover what you're passionate about, you'll eventually discover what your ultimate purpose is for existing, your reason for existing. So let's really dive into this because passion is a very important thing. Now, I'm sure that you have probably seen individuals. Maybe you've even been in this boat yourself, where you felt like, I just don't know what there is to live for. I just feel like, I don't know. My life is just kind of all out of whack. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do in the morning. When I wake up, there are some people that we assume that they are wrestling with depression when really they are just misguided and lacking focus in life. And as a result thereof, they are idle in their thinking. They feel like they don't have a purpose, and because of that, they feel as if their existence is useless, like there's no meaning to life or no reason, and they therefore lack motivation. They lack motivation. They don't feel the motivation to get up in the morning, the motivation to do much of anything. And I know there's some people that are like, well, I'm highly motivated. I go to work every day. But your motivation has to be more than just going to work so that you can get a paycheck and make sure that the bills are paid and there's food to eat. It's not really that much better to just simply be motivated to survive than someone that has no motivation at all. Let's be honest here, because most people, they've slipped into a mode of just simply striving to survive, not striving to thrive. You see, in order for you to step into your purpose, you have to have a thriving mentality and say to yourself, there's a reason that I exist. I'm here for a reason. I'm here to perform a specific task, to accomplish specific goals, and I'm not going to cease to exist until I accomplish my mission. And everything that is within you is channeled in the direction of pursuing after that purpose, that higher calling. So you're not thinking about survivalism. You're thinking about how you're going to thrive and actually live in that higher calling, that higher purpose that God has predestined for your life. I mean, you're not living in survival mode. But there are so many people that are living in survival mode Their only motivation for getting up is just to be able to go to work so that they can make more money, so that they can put food on the table and make sure that they don't go to bed hungry, and they live for the weekends. So, hey, all they really care about is, I just can't wait to get to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I can go to the game, go to the club, go to the bar, finally find some relief, maybe drink, maybe dance, maybe smoke, maybe do this, maybe do that, maybe meet somebody, have another one night stand or whatever. And that's all they live for, is just the weekends to participate in some useless exercise that isn't really getting them anywhere in their lives. So if you're living in survival mode, you're not really that much different than the person that has no motivation at all. It's not really that much different, because God didn't create us to just simply survive or just exist. He created us with a purpose. And one of the clues, or one of the key things that help us to discover our purpose, is we have to discover our passions. What are we passionate about? Because passion points you in the direction of your purpose and gives you a real reason for getting up in the morning and pressing on day by day. When you have a purpose, everything in your life makes sense, even the things that don't make sense. You realize that the things that happen to you are shaping you for something better. When you know that you have a purpose, you don't curse the darkness. You allow the darkness to play a critical role in your life and shaping you, shaping your character, so that you can become the kind of individual that can persevere through tough seasons, because perseverance is needed. Somewhere up the road, you're going to need that trait. When you have a purpose, you learn how to take the things that you're going through and change your perspective to see them as things that are contributing to your life in one way or another. But when you lack a sense of purpose, well, everything is a bore, or everything is laborious, everything is, nothing really means anything. And that's just not the way that God intended for you and I to live. So God wants you to tap into your purpose, but before you can do that, you have to tap into your passion. You have to discover your passion. So let's look at this. A couple of things that I really want to point out right here. Number one, if you're not passionate about anything, then you're not going to succeed in anything. You have to discover your passion, because your passion is the thing that drives you, propels you towards success in whatever your endeavors are. It's the thing that drives you. Now, I like to start out with a good example. I want to share just a little story. And this story is about a guy, and everybody knows exactly who this person is once I mention his name. He's one of the greatest boxers that ever lived on the face of the planet. Since the beginning of boxing. His name is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson, and this had to be probably around the late 90s, early 2000s or so. Mike Tyson, he was fighting this guy, and the guy's name was McBride. Now, had this been Tyson back from the early 90s or 80s, just a decade earlier, Tyson would have eaten this guy for lunch. I mean, he would have knocked this guy out. They would have had to probably get a guy smelling sauce and rush him to the local hospital to check for concussions and, find out if he even knew what planet he was on and remembered his name or something. I mean, Tyson of old would have destroyed this guy, but not this Tyson. This Tyson actually lost to this guy named McBride. He actually lost. In fact, Tyson didn't even get up off of the stool to answer the bell. He refused to get up. He quit in the middle of the match. And he ended up losing to a guy that was less than half the caliber of fighter that he was. And one of the reasons why Tyson lost that fight is because he had lost his passion for the sport of boxing. He was no longer passionate about it. Was he talented? Oh, yes. He was one of the most talented, gifted fighters on the planet. But talent is irrelevant. When you don't have passion, talent means nothing. In fact, if you don't have a passion for something, you may lose at something that you are overqualified for. I mean, you're overqualified and yet you suck at what you're doing, all because you don't have a passion for what you're doing. You know, I used to say this years ago. I used to I didn't understand the power of passion years ago. So I used to say that, look, don't follow your passions. Don't follow your passion because your passion may not pay off for you. You know, if for example, if you're passionate about beluga whales, then that's a passion that is not going to pay the bills. You know, it's not going to help you to reach that next level in your life. So don't chase after your passions. Instead, focus on the things that can bring money. But there was a disconnect and I didn't really fully understand it. The thing that really brings finances into your life, that really causes you to become successful, is your passion. And if you're not passionate, you may be in a field, in a trade, in a niche, in an industry that is very lucrative, and yet you won't make any money because you don't have the thing inside of you that drives and propels you towards success. And that thing is passion. If you are, let's say, and you know, there are a lot of people that are doing things they're not passionate about. You know, they are doing things because other people want them to do it, not because they want to do it, but because maybe your parents want you to do it. Your dad always wanted you to be a doctor, but you want to be an actor. You want to be a Hollywood actor. So you go to medical school, but because it's not a passion of yours, you really don't give it your all. I mean, you may even pass the work, but you really don't apply it. You really don't focus on it. You don't pursue after that, but you go to acting classes and you light up like a Christmas tree. And so that's an example of somebody that they don't have a passion for this, but they have a passion for something else. But because they are trying to pursue an avenue that they don't have a passion for, they don't really commit to it. They don't invest all of them into it. They don't give it their all. They don't jump for it. They don't take advantage of every door and opportunity because it's really not something they are passionate about. And, you know, I have 3 kids, and, you know, one of the things that my wife and I had to learn how to do was just sit down and question our kids and find out what they really want, what they are passionate about. And I know the Bible says you train up the child in the way that they are supposed to go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. That means to instill within them biblical values and principles. But when God created that child, he placed inside of them certain gifts and proclivities and passions that cause them to light up. And they have to learn how to follow God's path for their lives, because if they do something simply because you want them to do it, they won't commit to it. They won't put their all in it. And quite frankly, they're really just suck at it because they are not invested into it. It may be something that you're interested in, but if it's not their interest, there's not really anything you can do about that. But I do want to address that also, because there's another piece to this puzzle when it comes to directing our passions and even cultivating the right passion that I want to share with you in a second. And I'm gonna show you how it worked in my life. But again, you have to have a passion for something if you're going to be good at it. The reason why you need to be passionate about something is because of a Bible verse, a Bible verse that I actually want to put this on the screen. And this verse here, Jesus tells us, he says in Matthew chapter 6, verse number 21, he says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Now, Jesus didn't mince words. He didn't get things wrong. He didn't make a mistake. He didn't put things in the wrong order. No, Jesus, you got it wrong. Where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. So if your heart is here, that's where your money's going to be. That's how we interpret it. But when Jesus said what he said, he didn't mince words. He said exactly what he said, the way that he said it, because he was proving a point to us. When he says, where your treasure is, your heart follows. He didn't say where your heart is, your treasure follows. He said, no, where your treasure is, your heart follows. Treasure, in this context, it refers to the things that are most important to you, the things that you value. We know that treasure here doesn't refer to physical money, but it refers to things that are the most valuable to you, things that are priority to you, things that mean the most to you, things that you cherish, you relish, things that you desire, your utmost desire in life. So wherever your treasure is, the things that you desire the most in life, the things that you cherish and relish, the things that you long for, the things that mean the most to you, wherever those things are, your heart will be also. And we have to look at this because there are two things that he tells us that we see in that one verse there. Number one, your treasure, the things that you desire the most. Now, this is an indication of where your passion is. What do you treasure? What do you value? What do you desire? Now, when you talk to most people, they'll get up and they'll say things like, well, you know, the thing that I really treasure is I treasure nice cars and nice houses, and I treasure, you know, money. That's actually not what you treasure. That's not really what you desire. When you dive deeper into the real psychological motivation behind why people pursue those things, that's when you really discover what people really desire. You have to ask yourself why. Why do I want a bigger car? Why do I want a bigger house? Why do I want more money? Why do I want a raise? Why do I want to go into this particular career or that particular industry? Why do I want to dress up in those clothes? Why do I want to have that degree? Why do I want that title? Why do I want to do this? So why? You have to ask yourself why. When you ask yourself why, you will begin to peel back that onion, peel back the layers, and get to the source. You'll begin to uncover the true motivation that lies inside of you. For example, why do you want a bigger house? Well, for most people, it's not even really the house. It's the idea of being in a house in a safe neighborhood so that their families could be in a safe place. They want safety. They want room. They want space. They want a sense of freedom, as opposed to being in a very tight, cramped space. Why do you want that car? Well, part of it might be because you want status. You enjoy people looking up to you and admiring you. People asking you, what do you do, man? How do you even get a car like that? And it makes you feel good when people come to you and they ask you questions, because status, it equates to respect. And what you're really after is a higher level of respect. You want more status because you want more respect. More respect makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel important and significant. So the real motivation is not the car. The real motivation is what the car symbolizes. Why do you want that degree? Because again, oftentimes what it symbolizes that I've accomplished, I've arrived, I have transcended a certain level and have accomplished something that no one else in my family accomplished. So it gives me a greater sense of elation. It makes me feel like I've done something significant. It makes me feel significant. It makes me feel important, and there are people that are like, well, I know I may not have the best job, but at least I got the degree. And why? Because there's a emotional value that comes along with that degree. It's more than just a piece of paper, but it's something that does something for a person internally, as well as the idea that it can help advance you in your career. But why do you even want to advance in your career? Why do you want more money? Well, you don't want money just because you want a bunch of paper with dead presidents on it. Of course, nobody wants that. That's useless. I mean, money, you can't eat it. You can't do anything, but you like what money symbolizes. It symbolizes freedom. It symbolizes power. It symbolizes access, the ability to access things that you wouldn't normally be able to access, the ability to go places you wouldn't normally be able to go, the freedom to be able to just pick up and go on a vacation and not have to worry about how you're going to pay for it, get there, survive when you get back from vacation. I mean, to relieve stress, anxiety, worry, not have to worry about if you're going to have food to eat or a roof over your head. So it gives you a sense of security. So it's not the money that you're after, it's the security that you're after. So, that's why I say it's important to ask the question, why? Why do I want this? Now let's go just a little bit deeper. Let's peel another layer off of this onion. One of the reasons why you desire, or oftentimes we desire certain things in our lives, is because of pain. The pain of growing up in poverty and going to bed hungry night after night produces a fire inside of you that says, I will never be poor again a day in my life. And that fire drives you to pursue a career in which you can get a lot of money and never find yourself in that boat again where you're trying to figure out whether or not you're going to have food to eat before you go to bed. Having to walk everywhere, not having a car or vehicle, or having a vehicle but one that smokes and makes all kind of crazy noise, and you don't know if it's going to get you from point A to point B without breaking down on you. I mean, that's traumatizing. Getting picked at or looked at funny, that's traumatizing. So now here you are, you want a good car because you don't want to be looked down upon, picked at, talked about. You want to be respected and admired and feel safe knowing that you're in a vehicle that is top quality, so it's guaranteed to get you where you need to go. You know, growing up, you didn't have name brand clothes. You couldn't afford them. Everything that you wore were hand-me-downs, and they were stitched together by your mom or something. And you went to school and got picked on and laughed at and talked about and swore that when you grow up, you were gonna make a lot of money and you were gonna dress in the best clothes. In other words, pain. You know, Bruce Lee was one of the greatest martial artists on the planet. But one of the things that drove him to become great was when he got his behind whipped by that girl who was a bully in his neighborhood. You know, pain and suffering, embarrassment and humiliation, those things will produce inside of you a fire that will tell you, I will never put myself in that position again. So pain produces that fire. And guess what that fire is? That fire is called passion. That fire is called passion. I know a lot of us, we don't like pain. There are people that get angry with God because of the pain they experience in their lives. And they get up and they say, well, you know what? God is not a good God. Why? Because if he was a good God, he would not have allowed me to suffer through this pain. But you have to understand, pain produces fire inside of you. That fire is called passion. Passion drives you in the direction of your purpose. It is the only thing that is a force that propels you from within. Passion. Without it, you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't move. You wouldn't make any steps in any direction. If you don't have passion, all you'll do is just kind of get in the get in the corner and just kind of sit back and just, just languish away and waste away. I mean, even there's even a degree of passion when it comes to surviving, because, when your stomach is hungry, you'll get up and find a way to get some money so that you can at least go get something to eat for you and those that you love. But it takes a hungry belly with hunger pains to drive you. So pain is a driving force, and sometimes God has to allow you to experience pains in certain areas and aspects of your life in order to drive you in that direction, to begin to focus on certain goals. In other words, it's like this. It's like God says, I'm going to give you certain goals that I want you to work towards. But the only way that I can give you those goals, I have to produce a pain inside of you that creates a passion inside of you that will drive you towards those goals. If you have a passion for medicine and to be a doctor, some of that passion may be produced as a result of a pain. I had a loved one that went to the doctor and the doctor misdiagnosed them and they died prematurely, or the doctors didn't treat them properly, or they administered the wrong medication. And I promise I will never let that happen to not just another person that I love, but no one else in general. And that pain produced a passion that drove you towards that purpose, or gave you a sense of purpose and drove you in that direction. So don't curse your pain. Don't curse your pain. I heard evangelist Joyce Myers, when she was talking about her painful experience growing up, how her father raped and molested her for years, since she was a little girl to the time that she became a young woman. I think she was like 18 or so when she finally was able to get out of that house and get away from that. And she talked about how many nights she prayed and asked God, Lord, stop what's happening. I don't want to go through this anymore. It's painful. I don't like being in this house. My dad is molesting me, and my mom knows about it, but she won't do anything about it. And one night she felt like God answered her prayer when her dad took her to a secluded area, and while in the car, he began to sexually assault her. And then all of a sudden, the police officer pulled up behind him. And when Joy saw those lights, she was like, "Thank you, Lord, for answering my prayer. Thank you. This officer's going to finally lock him up, put him away. And, I don't have to go through this anymore." The dad gets out the car, goes and talks to the officer for a couple of minutes. The officer comes to the car to molest her. And Joy said, it was the most painful childhood upbringing anyone could ever experience. Night after night, day after day, being assaulted, raped, molested by her own father. And she was angry with God over it. Why didn't you stop it? Angry with her father. Why did you do this to me? Angry with her mother. Why didn't you stop my dad, your husband, from doing this to me? Why did you turn a blind eye and pretend like you didn't know what was going on? But then, as years progressed, God began to reveal to her, even while you were going through hell on earth, I was with you. But I allowed you to experience that pain because that pain is the only reason why you have an international ministry reaching tens and hundreds of millions of people, going into households all over the world, building shelters for girls that don't have a place, rescuing girls from human sex trafficking rings, and providing aid internationally in places where people don't have food and water and medicine. The only reason why you have this international ministry today is because I allowed you to experience a pain that propelled you to now go into this direction of doing all of these things for other people. But if you had never experienced pain, you probably would have been arrogant and snooty and felt like, looking down on other people as if you were better than them, rather than having the compassion that drove you to serve them. So a lot of times we get upset over pain, but pain is the thing that produces passion inside of you, and your passion is the thing that propels you in the direction of your purpose. So there's another word, and there's actually a Bible verse, and you can look it up, but it's from Ephesians chapter 2, verse number 2. And there, Paul wrote to the church of Ephesus, and he said that in the past, you all used to live according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, who now worketh in the children of disobedience. Now, that's an interesting verse, fascinating, and I'll tell you why. Because number one, what Paul says is, in the past, and he's talking to believers there, you all used to just blindly follow along with whatever the world was doing. Groupthink, following behind the crowd. And you were following them right over a cliff, straight into a pit of hell. But God rescued you. And you didn't know that back when you were following the crowd, the one who was leading the crowd was Satan himself. That's what the reference to the prince of the power of the air, that refers to Satan. That he's the prince of the power of the air, and some can add on to that the airways, that he's the one that controls media and what is constantly being pumped into your ears and your eyes and influencing the way that you think, so that you go according to the course of the world. And, so the devil is the one that's actually kind of controlling this whole system. And back in the day, you were following him blindly. But there's another part to that verse that I want you to pay attention to. He says, the prince of the power of the air, who worketh in the children of disobedience. Meaning everyone that disobeys God They are under the influence of Satan, even if they don't think so. They don't realize it. They don't believe that. Even if they don't believe in the devil, they are actually under his influence, because Satan isn't concerned about you believing in him as long as you don't obey God, because he's a loser and he wants you to be in the same lake of fire beside him. He already knows his fate. He just wants you to share in the same fate with him. So he could care less if you believe in him or not, as long as you don't follow God. So Paul said, you were following after the devil, but here's the key word: who worketh. That word worketh. Who works in the children of disobedience, the one that works in them. But what is that word work? In the original Greek language, that word worketh is energeo, which is where we get the word energy, energize. Translated, you all in the past were going according to the course of the world, which is dictated by Satan, the very one who energizes those who are living in disobedience towards God. Meaning they have energy for the things of the world, but no energy for the things of God. I don't know if you've experienced this. I'm sure you have. All of us have. When it's time to pray, we say, oh, boy, I don't feel like praying. Then when it's time to listen to some crazy rap song or whatever, we're like, yeah, I mean, we got all the energy in the world. That's my song. And we all up. Well, yeah, that right. Yeah. We quoting the lyrics and we dancing it. And then when it's time to listen to something that's talking about God, it's like, oh God, here we go. All the energy drains out of you. Let's go to Bible study tonight. Oh, God, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. Let's go to the club tonight. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I mean, you rushing into your closet like Clark Kent, Superman. You remember he would run into the phone booth, and it took him like 1 second. He run in with a suit on, then he'd come right back out 1 second later with his Superman costume on. I mean, that's how fast it take you to put your club gear on. But when it's time to go to church, it's like, it's like all the energy just dissipates or drains right out of your pinky toe. And that's an indication of who is God over your life, who's ruling your life. Because Paul says those who are living in defiance towards God, Satan energizes them to do everything but submit to God, serve God, follow God, obey God, do the things that God is instructing them to do. So they never have energy for the things of God. They never have energy. And yet the vice versa here. Those that are serving God and that have that genuine connection with him, they actually become energized when it comes to seeking after God. The flesh normally is going to be like, oh, I don't feel like praying. Paul confirmed that in Romans chapter 7. Your fleshly nature is always bucking against the spirit. He also confirmed that in Galatians chapter 5 when he talked about the fruit of the spirit, that the flesh lusts against the spirit. So Satan is always energizing the flesh to do the opposite of what God wants us to do. But Paul says, Romans chapter 7, he says something powerful. When I want to do right, I still do wrong, but I delight in the law of God in the inward man. That means my inward man is energized to pursue after God. And what Paul was saying there, he wasn't excusing sin and saying, oh, it's fine if you don't do the right thing. No, what Paul was saying, he was drawing a clear contrast there, that when a person is energized and fueled by the Spirit of God, it's the inner man that will drive their actions. So when I'm energized from within to love God, to serve God, then my spirit man will propel me to do the right thing, even when my fleshly nature is saying, let's do the wrong thing. No, my spirit man delights in God. It's energized by God. I love the presence of God. I can't wait to get into his presence. I love pursuing after him. And that's what God actually wants all of us to be. That's why I say, I would prefer that you be hot or cold rather than lukewarm. I don't want you being nominal or nonchalant. I want you to be on fire, or if you ain't on fire, at least be ice cold and be in the opposite direction. But for goodness sakes, don't profess to be my follower, and yet when it comes to me, you have no energy. You have no energy for the things of God. Now, I bring that word up, energy, for a reason, because going back to what Jesus said, when he said, where your treasure is, your heart will be. Listen, the things that you desire the most, which are based off of the pain that you have experienced the most, well, those things will determine where your energy flows. See, when Jesus talked about the heart will be where your treasure is, the heart in scripture refers to your innermost being. And what he's saying right there is your innermost being. That's the part of you that houses your motivation, that houses your energy. That's the part of you that houses your sense of investment, your determination, your commitment. So where your treasury is, that's where all of your energy will flow. That's what you will commit to. That's where your determination will be. That's where all of your focus will be. That's what you will pursue after. So whatever you treasure the most, that's where your passion is going to be. That's where your passion is going to be. So that's what that verse is actually saying. What you desire the most in life, that's where your passion is going to be. What you desire. And so the first thing that you have to understand is this, first thing we have to do is actually take inventory of what we desire. Because, again, if you haven't taken the time to study you, there are a lot of people that they spend time only focusing on what everyone else wants. They never take the time to find out what they want. And sadly, in some cases, and this is the crazy part, what some people want is what other people want. And what I mean by that is this. Your number one desire is just to not make people dislike you, or to make everyone like you and make everyone else happy. That's a state of emotional codependence. It's when you only feel good when they feel good. And then when they are upset, you are nervous and you start feeling funny. You don't have that sense of, I respect how I feel because I'm focused on what I desire or what makes me happy. It's all about them. And a person gets into that place when they've been grounded into powder, into dust, and made to feel as if they themselves have no value and worth. Therefore, they become emotionally codependent on everyone else because they don't have a sense of value within themselves. You are important, and when God created you, he placed inside of you certain things that he wanted you to do. You had certain gifts, certain talents, certain proclivities, certain passions. There were things that God placed inside of you. And somebody may have taught you into believing that you lack value and everything that you once prioritized is insignificant. And the only thing that matters is what they want or what they want for you. And that's just a lie from the pits of hell that you got to come out of agreement with and get back into that place where you start investigating you again and go back to what you were passionate about before you met that person or encountered those individuals. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day as well. But what are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? First, look at what you desire. What are your true desires? And what you desire is based off of what pains you the most emotionally, what pains you the most. That helps to create a desire inside of you, and that desire creates a passion inside of you, and that passion is what drives you. It's what propels you. So without passion, you won't get anything done because you just won't have any gas to even move in that direction. A car that's on E, I don't care how beautiful it is, it ain't going anywhere. And you're not going anywhere in life if you don't have a passion there to fuel you and drive you. You have to have a sense of passion. Now, is there such thing as being passionate about the wrong things or having the wrong sense of purpose? Of course there is. So I want to share with you just a key that has really changed my life, helped me to develop the right passion, and helped to propel me in the direction of God's purpose for my life. And also put me in a position where I started actually seeing financial abundance as a result of doing what God called me to do. Because God is always thinking about your good. He's always thinking about your good. And believe it or not, but God has already placed inside of you the very thing that you need in order to experience the prosperity that He predestined for your life. He's already given it to you. Now, you may not have discovered it yet. Somebody probably tossed layers and layers of their expectations on top of that gift and buried it so deep till you've lost sight of it, but it's there. It's there inside of you. And it's always been there. But it takes God to direct your attention to what is already there. That's the reason why the Bible says in the Psalm that God used the spirit of man to search out his heart like a candlestick. The spirit of man like a candlestick to search out his heart. Jeremiah 17, the heart is deceitful and wicked. Who can know it except for God? So you don't even know what's inside of your own heart. Only God knows what's inside of you because He knows what He placed there. So if you want to know what your purpose is, you go to the manufacturer, not to people. You go to the one that made you. Your parents didn't make you. They were just a vehicle that brought you here. God made you. While you were in your mother's womb, He knitted you together. He knitted your inward parts, David wrote. Inward parts don't just refer to your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, all of the organs. No, inward parts also refers to your soul, your passions, your proclivities, your talents, all of those things. I mean, I encountered a young lady just a couple of days ago. I was having a problem accessing the emails, something that was going on with my Gmail. And this young lady, I was on the phone with her, and the way she talked, she was like, "Oh my God, I just love doing this. I love just, doing this kind of work. I have a different business now, but I went to school for this, and I used to work for a company. I used to work for Comcast, and I used to do this all the time. Oh my, I'm sorry. And she was so excited. She was like, I'm sorry. I know I have so much excitement in my voice, but I just love doing this. And me, I'm like, I hate doing this stuff. If my email system is down and I got to go in and try to go and redirect this and redirect that and all this technical stuff, I feel like I'm about to pull my hair out. And she's like, oh, I just love doing this. Oh, I'm sorry. I have so much passion in my voice. I just enjoy it. And I'm like, I didn't know people existed like that. I'm just joking, but I'm like, for real, you're like, you are passionate about something I absolutely despise doing. Like, I hate it, but this is like your passion. Well, guess what? Everybody's built different. God built us different. And oftentimes, in order to succeed in what God call you to do, you have to find out what you are passionate about and then hire people that are passionate about the stuff that you are not passionate about. Because the only thing that drives people towards excellence and performance is their passion, and you need to find out what you're passionate about and what somebody else is passionate about, because God didn't give you a passion for everything. A jack of all trades just simply means you are a master of none. You can't master everything. You can only focus on one thing, to be honest with you. So that's how God designed it. And you have to discover what he placed inside of you. Now, this is something that really shifted my life because, and I've shared this testimony before. And, years ago, my passion was, I was actually focused on the boxing ring. And people that know my testimony, that's, my whole goal was I wanted to be like the greatest fighter that ever lived, the greatest boxer that ever lived. His name is, and I know you think of Muhammad Ali. No, the greatest fighter, Sugar Ray Robinson, the guy that Muhammad Ali copied after. I love that sport, and I was like, that's it. And my goal was, I just want to go to the Olympics, and I just want to make the Olympic team, and that's all I want to focus on, and that was my drive, that was my passion. And guess what? Passion, like I say, talent don't mean anything. Passion means everything. Because when you're passionate about something, you will put in the work and make all the sacrifices. You will work your behind off. And it won't even feel like work. It'll feel like fun. So because boxing was my passion, I was first in the gym, one of the last to leave, put in more work, outworked everybody. For me, a routine of coming to the gym. I do like not 1,000 punches. It was like a 5-punch drill, 5-round drill, where you just punch for 5 rounds, working through the break bell non-stop. You don't slow down, you don't stop at all. You just keep punching for 5 rounds, 3 minutes a round. And that was before even shadow boxing. That was the warm-up, before the warm-up. Everything was 12 rounds this, 12 rounds that. In the ring, 10 to 20 rounds of sparring, and 40, 50 rounds on the heavy back. But hey, when you have a passion, it will drive you to do those things, right? 200 to 300 push-ups nonstop. And it takes passion to drive you beyond your limitations, to drive you. And because I had that passion, well, guess what? I found myself right on the track of accomplishing the goal. Here I am. I'm qualified for the Olympic tryouts. I can't wait to make the Olympic team. I can't, and I just come back from the Golden Gloves out in Marquette, Michigan. And now there's a door, an opportunity for me, because I placed in the top ranks so that I can go to Colorado and try out for the Olympic tryouts. And I only been in the sport, just a little over a year, and yet I'm passing guys that have been in there for years, beating them and passing them. And it's all because of passion, not talent, passion. Some people, they just don't work hard. They just get lazy. But when you got a passion and a drive, you work your behind off, right? Because you're passionate about it. But guess what happened? In between Golden Gloves and then Colorado, I ended up going to Israel, the Holy Land. And while I was there in Israel, while I was there, something happened to me. I can't fully explain it. All I know is something happened to me. I went to Israel, and maybe it was just the fact that I'm walking the Via Dolorosa, the footsteps of Christ. I'm seeing the actual places that I read about in the Bible. I'm standing on the actual mountain where Elijah called down fire from heaven. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just the fact that I'm actually in the physical locations, and it did something to me. It did something to me, and I just kind of classify it this way. I had an encounter with God while over there. I grew up in church all my life. Now I've been in church, but when I went over there, I just had this encounter with God. It wasn't like some angels dancing in the sky, whatever, but something happened to my heart. And when I came back from Israel, guess what? I no longer had a passion for the ring anymore. I ain't even care about the ring anymore. It's like I did a complete 180. I ain't even go to Colorado. I lost heart. I lost a passion for it. I no longer cared about any of that. When I came back home from Israel, the only thing I wanted to do was look at the movie King of Kings. I literally watched that movie and 10 Commandments every single day, all day while I was at the house. I ain't look at no TV. I ain't want to look at anything else except for King of Kings and the 10 Commandments. That's all I wanted to look at. It's like this appetite that developed in me where all I want to do was know God more, know the word of God more. I just want to look at King of Kings because I want to see the places that I just got finished visiting. And it's like I want to relive that experience. I want to connect with that experience even more. And I was so on fire, this passion that developed. And it was during that season, during that time, that I ended up, that's when God started speaking to me and gave me a vision of myself in ministry. Before that, when I was in the ring, guess what I said? My mantra, I will never be a preacher. I ain't going into the pulpit ever, period. I told that to my dad's face. I will never be a preacher. Then all of a sudden, when I went there, God transformed my heart. And suddenly my passion went in a different direction. Suddenly I developed a passion for the ministry. And it wasn't a passion for a pulpit. No, it was a passion for the presence of God and a passion for my kingdom assignment. God, what did you put me on this earth to do? And so there's a biblical principle that I want to bring up right here because the Bible tells us right here in the 37th Psalm, verse number 4, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Delight yourself in him, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Oftentimes when people read that, they misinterpret that as well. They assume that is saying, spend time with God, and he'll give you what you want. Wrong. Correct interpretation, spend time with God, and he will download into your heart what he wants you to want. He will place his desires in your heart. Delight, the word delight in the Hebrew means to be soft, to be malleable, moldable, to be like putty or Play-Doh in God's hands. It really carries the connotation of stop bucking and fighting and stop resisting God when he's trying to change your life, trying to change your lifestyle. When God is telling you, come out of this, come out of that, stop living this lifestyle, stop engaging in this activity. This is a sin. This is a weight. Avoid this. Stop hanging around them. And you want to buck and fight God. And there are a lot of people, they go to church, they sing the song, they do the dance, they sing on the praise team, they preach, they do all of that stuff. But when it comes to certain areas in their lives, they fight God every step of the way. No. And yet to delight yourself in God means to stop resisting him and become soft in his hands so that he can shape your heart and shape your life. And when you become that way, God will start downloading in you his desires, the things that he desires for you to desire, the things he wants you to desire. He'll give you his desires. And that means he'll place inside of your heart a new passion, and that passion will propel you in the direction of the purpose he predestined for you to have. So spending time with God is so valuable. You know, a lot of people, they come into this world and they're like, I don't know what to do with myself. Oh God, I just feel like my life is so useless. Start spending time with God, drawing close to him. Start spending time just drawing close to him, getting into his word and allowing the word to begin to change your lifestyle, instill within you God's values, his principles, and just cultivating that deeper relationship with him, and watch and see what happens. Suddenly, you'll start developing a passion for something, and you don't even know where the passion came from. All of a sudden, I just feel like I want to get out there. I want to go on the mission field. Or I just feel like I just want to start a business and start, financing things. And all of a sudden you develop this passion. I just feel like I want to start a ministry. I just want to start helping people on the street. Or I want to help people who are out there victims of domestic violence. And God will start placing that passion inside of your heart the more you spend that time with him, just becoming soft in his hands. So that is a key principle. And I bring that principle up because when I started drawing closer to God, that's when this passion developed inside of me for ministry, and not just ministry, but a certain aspect of ministry, to do ministry a certain way, so the mold or the style of minister that I am. I'm the guy that ride around. I still bump Lecrae. I still bump Caleb Gordon. I'm playing all of these guys, and everybody else was playing Mighty Klaus of Joy. Nope, nothing against that. But I was at the same time. I'm playing all of these other holy hip hop artists because that's me. And I'm like, well, there was a passion inside of me that I'm a young Christian. And it's kind of hard being young and saved. So I want to introduce something that young Christians can enjoy, and love, and still be able to be, in right standing with God, and yet still have fun. So that was a passion that developed inside of me. And so God will begin to steer and direct you, but he didn't stop right there, because what he did was he also rekindled a passion that I had, a passion that I laid down. When I started focusing on sports, I had forgotten all about this passion. I just kicked it to the curb. But when I started drawing closer to God, suddenly he started unveiling to me again a long forgotten passion that I had. And that passion was the passion for writing. I started picking back up writing again. I started writing poetry, short stories, novels. I wrote a novel while I was in high school. I started writing doing all of this writing and writing and writing and writing. And that passion, it propelled me into another direction. And next thing you know, here I am competing in poetry competitions and creative writing competitions and winning tens of thousands of dollars and all of that stuff. So it's like God says, I already know what I predestined for your life, but first I need to redirect your heart in that direction. You're trying to focus on the ring, but I have a different plan. And where I'm taking you, I already have financial provisions and blessings and all kind of things in store for you. But I have to first direct your passion in that direction before I can take you in that direction. And I became passionate about writing. I will spend hours in the bookstore reading novels and reading poetry, I mean, what 17, 18-year-old sits in a book, Barnes and Nobles, reading, Billy Collins and Sylvia Plath and Thomas and Mueller and all of that. So, I mean, but yet that was my passion. And when you are passionate about something, you will make sacrifices that other people won't make. And those sacrifices will earn you rewards other people don't get. So God began to take me in a different passion. And guess what? That passion then developed into a business. It developed into a business, a book publishing company, writing. And then I made significantly more money that I was winning through the poetry competitions. Tens of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of dollars just through that business. It became a revenue stream. And it was God's way of saying, well, I'm directing your life because I desire to bless you. I desire to prosper you. I desire to do all of these things. But there's something that I placed inside of you you forgot all about. But now that you've been spending time with me, I've uncovered that hidden thing that I placed inside of you. And that gift that I gave you, that's the thing that I gave you that will change your financial situation. It's been there all along. You just didn't know it. But it took me to uncover that for you because I desire to prosper. I desire to bless you. I desire to do more things. And believe it or not, but one thing only opens the door for another thing. So God may bless you with revenue in one area so that he could open up doors for you in another area, because that's not the sum total of your existence. That's just a stepping stone in the direction, the ultimate direction of the things that God is taking you to. So passion is a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing. And yes, it is possible to be passionate about something that is not in alignment with God's will for your life. When there are people that have unnatural obsessions, in other words, they obsess over somebody, you're obsessing over somebody's husband or somebody's wife, going to bed fantasizing. Well, that's a very unnatural passion. In fact, it's one that may land you in jail and definitely land you in hell. And it's definitely a bad one. But it's not even the person that you're obsessing. It's some fantasy that you have in your head that you're obsessing over. Meaning you use that person to represent a fantasy scenario. Because if you really got to know that person, you probably wouldn't like them. It's kind of like that story in the Bible when David's son raped his sister or stepsister Tamar. And after he raped her, he suddenly looked at her and the Bible say he became hateful. He despised her. Why? Because he had a fantasy in his head that he was obsessed over. It wasn't her. It was just that she happened to be a tool, just a piece or a tool that fed into his fantasy. It was really this, that some people they had this fantasy in their minds of living happily ever after and riding off in the sunset and living this perfect life, and this limerence is what is the word that is called today. That they feel like somebody is their savior. But if you get to know that person, you'll find out that they got bad breath in the morning. They got issues. They got personality issues. They got bad credit. And when you start to get to know them, then that's when you're like, well, you ain't what I thought. No, you just had a fantasy and you were unrealistic. So there are people that have unnatural passions, and that's why you stop looking at porn and stuff like that, because it's producing an unrealistic expectation, desire, and passion inside of you. And not just the porn, but also some books that you read, novels that got you thinking that this is what life is supposed to be like, and now you're fantasizing after that. Yeah, all of that is unnatural. It ain't realistic. It ain't real. So Yeah, it is very easy. There are people that they start becoming jealous and envious, coveting somebody else's life. That is an unnatural passion. You don't know what that person is going through, and you don't know what they had to go through to get what they have. You ain't willing to go through half of what they went through, and you're not willing to go through half of what they are going through in order to be where they are. So, yeah, that is a very unnatural passion. But when you start to really submit to God and surrender your life, He realigns your heart so that your heart is in alignment with the right passion, the passion for the thing you were created to do. And when you're in your passion zone, you don't care about what anybody else think. You don't care about what sacrifices. You don't care about any of that stuff. You got tunnel vision and you are moving full steam ahead. So I'm going to stop right there, and I hope that today's conversation really just helped to provide insight and enlightenment there to help you to get on the right track of your passion. Look, I never close out without offering you a free gift, and I do have a free gift for you. I want you to click on the link in the description below. I have an awesome teaching where I teach you how to discover a God idea for your life, for your business. A God idea is 100 times or 1,000 times greater than a good idea. A good idea is one thing, but to receive a God idea, now that's incredible. That will just set your life in a direction that will propel you right into the success and the blessings that God predestined for you to have. And part of that is learning how to hear God, distinguish between God's voice and your own. So there's a lot of great information in that teaching on how to receive a God idea for your life as well as for your business. It'll revolutionize everything that you do. So click on the link in the description below, and you can go ahead and sign up and just take that course. It's free. So go ahead and click on the link in the description below. And I will see you next time on our next episode of Live Sessions. Until then, peace.